I hope that I leave relationships. That's kind of what I value in life, or just relationships with people. To this day, I have people that I hired into this business who are at the highest levels that I'm still dear friends with and talk to all the time and value their input and value their opinions. And that's what I love. I love that. I have just so many good friends. And advertising people are the most fun, funniest, smartest, most sarcastic. It's just such an amazing group of kind of weirdos and misfits and just some of the smartest people you'll ever meet in your life are in advertising. And so I just feel so lucky to have been around them, and to know them.
You got a pillow if you lost yours. You got a seat at my table. You got a here's somebody who believes you. Let truth remind you. You've always got a place to go to. You got a home.
Welcome to The Creator's Journey. I'm your host, Charles Gupton. Each week, I'll talk with creative leaders who face the same fears and obstacles we all face. What makes these folks effective are the processes they've developed that allow them to push through the darkness to consistently ship their work and make a difference. If you've ever felt that your fears and insecurities are getting the best of you, know that you're not alone. Every creator who works from the heart faces the same challenges. Come join our community at thecreatorsjourney.com for ideas and inspiration that will bring light and direction to your journey.
Here's the key to my front door. You got a pillow if you lost yours. You got a seat at my table. You got a home. Here's somebody who believes you. Let truth remind you. You've always got a place to go to. You got a home.
David Baldwin is one of the most recognized copywriters and creative directors in the advertising business today. David is the founder of Baldwin, and in Raleigh, North Carolina, the agency was named Ad Age's Small Agency of the Year after only 3 years in business and was awarded the 4A's O'Toole Award for the best body of work from a small agency after only 5 years. The former chairman of the One Club in New York City, David was also an executive producer for the Emmy Award-winning film Art and Copy. He was also an associate producer for the Emmy and Peabody Award-winning film The Loving Story. David is a guitarist and songwriter for the band Pants, whose CD, Twice the Snake You Need, can be found on iTunes or Amazon.com. His work and writings have been featured in numerous publications and college textbooks on advertising. David is also the co-founder of the Ponysaurus Brewing Company, a nano brewery in Durham, North Carolina. David, thank you for sitting down to talk. We're a guest in your house today in a lovely studio, lovely agency, so thanks for inviting us in to sit down with you. I have talked with several people behind your back that have said some good and kind things consistently. Steve Sandstrom had some fine things to say, and in a conversation a little earlier with your co-founder and partner, Bob Renew, Bob said that he likes what he does, he loves advertising, but he really just is passionate about motorcycles. But you carry that same kind of passion into advertising, that it's your heart and you just breathe it, that you love it from your pores, I think you said. And then had a conversation with a buddy of mine, Charlie Brown, and he said that you had lunch together the other day, just kind of an impromptu lunch, and he sat there and just listened to you and Bob talk, and the love and the passion that just oozed out of the things you were talking about with the business. Talk with me a little bit about where that passion has come from, and if you can dig into maybe some inspiring books or some resources that others may be able to touch into a little bit of that. But I want to hear a little bit about your passion, where it came from, and what has kind of brought you to this place.
I grew up around advertising. My mother was the media director of a little agency in El Paso, Texas, where I grew up. I grew up in El Paso. And she was a media director at an agency called DeBryan Reddig, which is no longer around. And so I kind of grew up understanding that was a career. I always wanted to be a musician sort of from early on. And but I always thought, like, man, those guys are having fun. Like, that looks really fun. And you would go into the agency, and It was, for the time, it was kind of a fun environment compared to other businesses I'd been in. My father worked at a paper company called Dixon Paper Company, which, he kind of worked for Dunder Mifflin. But my father was a salesman at a paper company. And I would go in there, and it did not seem fun. It seemed way more kind of corporate, and they had sales goals and, all these things. And then I'd go into my mother's office, and the guys in the back were having a great time, and they could draw, and they could do all these things. And I remember early on being like, that's pretty cool. Like, I cannot believe those people make a living doing that. That's pretty neat. And so I had kind of a parallel ambition where I always thought, like, I wonder if I could do both. And music's going to be hard to make a living at, but I bet I could do this other thing and also play music. And so it turns out I was way better at advertising than I was at music, as is evidenced by the fact that I work in advertising. But I have done that, and I've maintained that, in and out of my entire career, of still playing music on the side and doing those things. But I just grew up around the business, and it was talked about, and I can still talk to my mother about it now, and she would kind of come home and talk about, doing a buy for the local car dealerships and things like that. And it was just there. It was just understood. And so I always had kind of a feeling like, that looks pretty fun. I might be good at that. I might like that. And so when I went to college, I went to the University of Texas in Austin and went through the creative program there. And that's where it really caught fire, because I was around people who loved it. And I had a teacher who, a guy named Leonard Rubin, Dr. Leonard Rubin, who was treated you like an adult, and he treated you like you were in the business even as a student. And I always appreciated that. But he would shut the door on you if you were late. He'd say you're fired, right? And he would give you, like, if you did that twice, you were kicked out of the class. So you weren't allowed to be late. You weren't allowed any of these things. When you had ads due, you had to have the work due. And he was really, really hard to please. And I just fell in love with it. And I was surrounded by people that were just really hungry to do it. And I think that's really where kind of the prairie fire started for it. And from there I moved to New York, and I was off and running. So I mean, I feel lucky to work in a business like this where you can live by your wits, and it's really a lifestyle as much as anything. It's a lifestyle kind of career. It's not like a 9-to-5 job. And I just feel lucky that I found it and fell into it, and that I've been half decent at it,
Well, apparently more than half decent. You've
doing okay.
Been able to pull your weight pretty well. Well, you've said that in your agency you want to do great provocative things that have an effect in the world, have fun doing it, have a good quality of life outside of work, and run a great business in that order. Where do you find your greatest challenges in keeping your priorities in that order day to day?
We've kept those priorities, I think, front and center the whole time. That's one of the things that has been, I think, a compass. It's been a star by which we've sort of navigated by those four principles, and that was agreed upon before we even opened the company between me, Aaron, and Bob. And Jerry Beaudry came on later on, right? A little bit after that. But I wrote some of that up in my attic when I was kind of thinking up this company, and I have a document that I wrote that I don't share with anybody, but it was about what I wanted this company to be, and it's pretty much what it is, And I had to seek out the right people, and I am a firm believer that I haven't done shit. I've worked with really good people who can do things I can't do. Bob Renew is a great example of that. The skill set on him is so wide and so deep that this company would not exist without him. Erin Bredeman, she has the ability to do things that I cannot do, and she is just a master at the things she's good at. And so, again, this company would not exist in the way it does without them. All of the four founders really bring kind of an interesting, different humanity to what we're doing, and so. I think, if anything, one of my talents that I'm sort of have looked at over the years is my ability to find really good people.
That's key. Well, it's to your credit that you give credit to the other people for what they do. I met Bob and did a little work with him when he first started, when he was first out of school, and I've just watched his career just go into the stars. I mean, he's an incredible guy.
Yeah.
Much admired, and he's extremely humble about what he's done and
no ego,
where he's gone. So, well, a necessary part of breakthrough ideas is allowing for failure.
Yeah.
Just like kids having kind of huge blow-ups with chemistry sets to see what goes and doesn't go together. But leaders often want to be seen as always successful. They never fail. They never flail around. Everything they do is out of the ballpark. But creative work and advertising doesn't always go that way. How is that presented? Any struggle with you at all as a leader? How do you work with failure, or how do you present when things don't work?
Yeah, you have to compartmentalize. You have to compartmentalize the terror, and I think try to get comfortable with the anxiety of trying new and different things. And Bob and I will look at work a lot together, and we will, we'll look at something and go, that's neat, that's scary, let's do that. Like, that's the scary thing. Let's lean into it at least and try to figure it out. And we do that a lot. And I think fear is there's two kinds of fear. There's fear, and that's dumb, and that was a stupid thing to do, and we certainly have done that a bunch of times. Good. But there's the fear that is, I don't understand it, I don't know what that is, and we're just going to live with that for a little bit and see where it can go. And I've had a number of those sort of flashpoints in my career where it was like, I don't understand that. I don't know what that is, but I'm intrigued by it, and so we're going to lean into that. And so I think you have to kind of compartmentalize that. You can't think about that. Like, if you think about that, you're just not going to do anything. And so I do think you have to move forward sort of at 85% all the time versus waiting for 100% surety. You're never going to do anything if you do that. So I've worked with perfectionists before, and they drive me insane. I don't like working with perfectionists because they don't ever do anything. Whereas if you're kind of think about it incrementally, like, I'm trying to get to something amazing here, and there's a point at which as a professional you're like, we're done, we got to be done, we got to go. That's a wonderful, that's a finish line that you got to try to get across, and you're done when you're done. Like, you're done when it's ready to go, and then you go. So yeah, and so I'm not saying in any way I don't get nervous or scared or anxious. I certainly do, but you just have to compartmentalize it and move it off to the side. Running a company, on the other hand, there's this whole other world of anxiety that you have to deal with, but it's the same. You compartmentalize it, and you don't try not to let it affect the other things on that list that you read a minute ago, because it really is trying to do provocative, amazing things that have a positive effect on the people that see it or feel it or touch it or taste it. And we always have that in our heads, that we're trying to do something that has an effect. We're not just trying to yell at people, or so much advertising is terrible. And it's funny, you said you had heard that I love advertising. I do love advertising. I love good advertising. I hate bad advertising.
Good distinction.
Yeah, and I watch so much and absorb so much, and just I'm disgusted. It's interesting, just as an example right now, advertising is destroying the mobile social experience. It's destroying it. You can't enjoy social media because of advertising. Now, advertising's helping to pay for it, so there's a dichotomy there. It's got to get figured out, but it's not figured out right now, and it's really screwing things up. So to me, that there's a real opportunity there. So again, you start to lean into that. Like, what's that? How could we try to have an effect on that?
Go into that a little bit more. How are you digging
Sure.
into some of those things? Because that's
Yeah.
an incredibly good point.
Yeah. So
how are you facing that?
We have always said we want to try to build an advertising agency, or what I would call a creative content, creative company, for the next 20 years, not for the last 20 years. Because, I mean, Moore's Law does not just apply to, microchips. It's everything's changing really fast. And, we're six plus years old now. The industry, forget the industry in 2002. It has completely changed in the last 5 years. And so if I project that forward, I have no idea where it's going, and anyone who tells you they know where it's going is wrong. But I do know it's not going to be what it is right now. It's changing. It's changing very quickly. Advertising is doing great, business-wise. The industry is getting killed. It's getting harder and harder to get paid. So all of those things sort of are adding into this kind of soup of uncertainty and where do we go as an industry. What was the question?